Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name's Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Pete Gilbert. We're honoured to acknowledge General Peter Pavel, Chairman of the Military Committee, NATO, Air Chief Marshal Mark Binskin, Chief of the Australian Defence Force, and the accompanying delegation. We also welcome and acknowledge the International Cyber Conference delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Lillypilly Public School and Hornsby North Primary School. Could I ask you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem? Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as explained in the entry of the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we pay tribute to Pilot Officer Edward Quinlan. Popularly known as Ted, Edward Ernest Quinlan was born in Brisbane on the 15th of April 1915 to Edward Ernest Quinlan Sr. and Jane Edith Quinlan. Before the advent of the Second World War, he worked as an article clerk and a solicitor. In January 1942, at the age of 26, Quinlan enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force and began training as a navigator. On the 7th of October, shortly before Quinlan embarked overseas, his wife Hazel gave birth to their son. Like his father and grandfather, he was named Ernest. After further specialist training in Britain, Quinlan was posted to the Mediterranean, where he joined No. 454 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, Quinlan was one of approximately 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers who throughout the course of the war joined squadrons in Britain. No. 454 Squadron was based in Egypt, where it was part of 201 Group of the Royal Air Force Middle East Command. Equipped with two-engine Martin Baltimore light attack bombers, it operated mostly as a maritime patrol squadron targeting enemy submarines and shipping, as well as operating against targets in mainland Greece and the Greek islands. On the 1st of June 1944, the Baltimore, in which Quinlan was navigator, was taking part in a raid on a German convoy that had left Piraeus harbour in Greece, bound for Crete. After shadowing the convoy fighting off persistent attacks by the strong German fighter escort accompanying it, Quinlan's plane was last seen about 50 miles north of Crete and was presumed to have been shot down by enemy fire. Quinlan and his three Australian crewmates, Max Short, and George Lyles, were all killed. Edward Quinlan was 29 years old. His body was never recovered, and today his name is commemorated on the Alamein Memorial at the British and Commonwealth War Cemetery at El Alamein. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is one but many of the stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Pilot Officer Edward Ernest Quinlan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
The rays shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you a very good evening. Thank you.